Welcome to Quiet Reflections. Today I want to share with you a story called Lesson About Patience, The Farmer Who Never Judged, Life Too Soon, Stories That Teach Lessons. The moment the boy hit the ground, everyone already knew what it meant. The crack of bone echoed across the field, sharp, final, undeniable. A few men rushed forward. Someone cursed under their breath. Another shook his head slowly. "That's bad," he whispered. "Really bad." But the farmer didn't react the way they expected. He didn't panic. He didn't shout. He simply walked toward his son, knelt beside him and placed one steady hand on his shoulder. Then he said something no one understood. "We don't know that yet." That sentence didn't make sense. Not here, not now, because in that moment, everything looked clear. A broken leg meant lost work, lost strength, lost future. The kind of thing you don't question, the kind of thing you just accept as misfortune. But the farmer didn't accept it. Not as good, not as bad, just unfinished. Have you ever noticed how quickly we decide what something means? Something happens, and within seconds, we label it good, bad, lucky, unlucky, as if life reveals its full story in a single moment. But what if it doesn't? What if the moment you're judging is only the beginning of something you can't yet see? At the foot of the Harvey Hills, where the land stretched wide and green, there was a small village. Life there was simple, predictable, the kind of place where everyone knew each other and everyone had an opinion about everyone else. People worked the fields, traded goods, shared stories under old trees. And when something happened, they talked about it, quickly, loudly, and with certainty. Among them lived a farmer. He didn't stand out at first. He wasn't rich. His house was small, built from mud and straw. His clothes were worn from years of work. He lived with his wife, who spoke gently and moved quietly, and his son, who had just begun to understand the weight of responsibility. They didn't have much. A small field, a few animals, enough to survive. But there was one thing the entire village envied. A horse, strong, tall, beautiful, in a way that made people stop and look twice. Its coat caught the sunlight. Its movements were controlled, powerful. It wasn't just valuable, it was rare. The farmer had raised it from a young colt, fed it, trained it, walked beside it through seasons of drought and harvest. To others, it was an asset. To him, it was part of his life. One afternoon, a merchant arrived in the village. He was the kind of man who didn't walk, he arrived. People noticed. Conversations paused. Eyes followed him. He moved through the village until he saw the horse. And he stopped. He walked closer, slowly, examining it like someone who knew value when he saw it. "I'll buy it," he said. The farmer didn't answer immediately. The merchant continued, "I'll give you enough gold to change your life." Now people gathered. Whispers spread. "This is it. He should take it. He'd be a fool not to." The farmer looked at the horse, then at his son, then back at the merchant, and he shook his head. "It's not for sale." The words felt wrong to everyone listening. The merchant frowned, increased the offer, then again. Still no. The merchant left, and the silence he left behind quickly turned into noise. What a mistake. He'll regret this. Opportunity doesn't come twice. That night, the son sat beside his father under a dim lantern. "Why didn't you sell it?" he asked. The farmer didn't rush to answer. "We don't know yet if that would have been good or bad." The boy frowned. How could it not be good? The farmer smiled faintly. Because life hasn't finished with it. The boy didn't understand, but he didn't argue either. A few days later, the horse was gone. The rope lay loose. The stable stood empty. No sound, no trace, just absence. The son ran, calling, searching. Nothing. The villagers didn't hesitate this time. We told you. Now he has nothing. He lost everything. That evening the boy sat in silence. I should have told you to sell it, he said. The farmer placed a hand on his shoulder. We don't know what this is yet, but this time, even the boy didn't believe him. And maybe for a moment, even the farmer felt something shift. Not doubt, but wait, because patience is easy when nothing is at risk. But when something you love disappears, patience feels like standing still while everything slips away. A week later, before the sun fully rose, a sound broke the quiet. Hooves, fast, familiar. The boy ran outside, and Froza, the horse, had returned. But it wasn't alone. Behind it followed 5 wild horses, strong, untamed, powerful. The same villagers returned, different voices now. Lucky, he knew, this was meant to be. But the farmer didn't celebrate. We don't know that yet. The boy laughed. How could this be bad? The farmer didn't answer, because sometimes excitement speaks too loudly to hear truth. The next morning, the boy tried to ride one of the wild horses. It resisted, fought, twisted violently, and then he fell. The sound was wrong, a sharp crack that didn't belong to the earth, but to bone. Silence followed. This time, no one argued. This is bad. Even the boy lying there, breathing through pain, looked at his father. Is this still not bad? The farmer knelt beside him, looked at his son, then said quietly, we still don't know. But this time, his voice wasn't untouched. It carried something deeper, because patience doesn't mean you don't feel pain. It means you don't decide what that pain means too soon. That night, the house was quiet. The boy couldn't sleep. Pain moved through his body in waves. But something else stayed longer. Fear. What if I can't work? What if I slow everyone down? What if I become a burden? The farmer sat beside him, not fixing, not explaining, just staying. Because sometimes presence is stronger than answers. Then, 2 weeks later, the sound came again. Drums, heavy, urgent. Soldiers entered the village. War. Every young man was taken. No excuse, no delay. One by one they left. Mothers cried. Fathers stood still. The air changed. When the soldiers reached the farmer's house, they saw the boy, broken leg, useless for war. They moved on, just like that, gone. Months passed, and when the war ended, not everyone returned, not even close. The village became quieter, not peaceful, just empty. One evening the boy sat beside his father, same place, different understanding. I thought everything was ending, he said. The farmer nodded. So did I. The boy looked at him. You did? Yes. A pause. We don't understand life when it happens, the farmer said. We understand it after. The boy didn't respond, because this time he didn't need to. He had lived it, not as a lesson, but as truth, and that changes everything. Life didn't suddenly become easy. Some days were still hard. Some losses didn't turn into blessings. But something had shifted. They no longer rushed to judge. They no longer labeled every moment. They no longer believed that one event defined everything, because now they knew something most people never learn. That life is not a single moment. It's a sequence. And meaning doesn't exist in one chapter. It reveals itself across many. Where are you listening to this story from? Drop your state in the comments. I'd love to see how far this story travels. So let me ask you something. What are you calling bad in your life right now? That time hasn't finished explaining yet, because maybe you're still in the middle of the story, and the part you're judging isn't the ending, it's just the beginning. Subscribe for more stories like this.